She laughed when he said he could fly. But when the helicopter took off, she realized she had just insulted a man who once saved hundreds of lives. It was a cold Monday morning in Chicago, wind slicing through the rooftops, as powerful CEO Victoria Reed waited impatiently on her company's helipad. Her private pilot had canceled last minute, an emergency, and time was running out. In less than 2 hours, she needed to be in Detroit to close a $50 million deal that could define her career. Her assistants, James and Rebecca, ran around nervously trying to find a replacement pilot. Every professional in the city was either booked or grounded due to fog advisories. That's when Marcus Hill, a scruffy man in a worn military jacket, appeared near the helipad's edge, just looking for a quiet corner to finish the half sandwich he'd picked up at a shelter. When Victoria noticed him, she frowned. To her, he looked like trouble, another invisible man wandering too close to her perfect world. But Marcus spoke calmly. "Ma'am, I can fly this helicopter." The assistants burst into laughter. James smirked. "Buddy, you look like you can't even afford a bus ticket, let alone fly a multi-million-dollar chopper." Victoria folded her arms, her designer heels tapping impatiently. "Listen, this is an $8 million aircraft," she said coldly. "Not a toy for someone playing hero." Marcus didn't flinch. His eyes stayed calm, steady. "I can fly," he repeated. Victoria, frustrated and amused, finally smirked. "All right, prove it. Fly me to Detroit, safely, and I'll marry you." The words dripped with sarcasm and arrogance, meant to humiliate, not challenge. James and Rebecca burst into cruel laughter again. To them, it was just entertainment, a rich woman's cruel joke. But Marcus simply nodded. "Deal." To everyone's shock, Marcus climbed into the pilot's seat with ease. His hands moved across the controls like a man who had done it thousands of times before. Within seconds, the helicopter came to life, smooth, controlled, powerful. Rebecca gasped. "Wait! He actually knows what he's doing!" As the blades spun and the helicopter lifted off, the city of Chicago began to shrink beneath them. Victoria's smirk disappeared. The flight was flawless, steady, quiet, professional. She couldn't help but ask, yelling over the sound of the rotor, "Where the hell did you learn to fly like this?" Marcus replied calmly, without looking at her. "From places people like you never bother to look." His answer cut deeper than she expected. During the silent minutes that followed, Victoria found herself studying his reflection. 3 years ago, he was Captain Marcus Hill, chief pilot for Chicago's emergency rescue unit, a decorated veteran, a man who had saved dozens of lives. One night, he was called to transport 2 patients after a highway accident. An injured child fighting for life, and a wealthy businesswoman demanding immediate attention. That woman was Victoria Reed. Marcus had chosen to save the child first. Victoria, furious, used her influence to destroy his career. False misconduct reports, bribed investigators, revoked license. Within weeks, Marcus lost everything: his job, his home, even his family. His wife left him, taking their daughter away. For 3 years, Marcus vanished, but he never stopped remembering. He never stopped waiting for justice. As the helicopter neared Detroit, Victoria's arrogance began to fade into uneasy curiosity. She couldn't shake the feeling that this man was more than what he seemed. When they landed, a perfect, soft landing that would have made any professional proud, Victoria's legs felt weak. Marcus turned to her, calm as ever. "A deal's a deal, Miss Reed," he said. "You promised to marry me if I flew you safely." Victoria laughed nervously, trying to brush it off. "Oh, come on, that was sarcasm, not a real proposal." Marcus's calm expression turned sharp. "I recorded the entire thing," he said, pulling out a small device. "Your assistants heard you too." Victoria's smirk vanished. For the first time, she was speechless. Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten. He simply said, "Don't worry, I'm not after a wedding. I'm after the truth." And with that, he walked away. While Victoria tried to investigate who this mysterious man was, Marcus was already several steps ahead. He met Ana Rodriguez, a former ethics investigator who had been fired for exposing corruption at Sterling Aviation, the very company Victoria owned. Together, they had spent months collecting proof, emails, forged documents, bribes, even falsified safety certificates for the same helicopter Marcus had flown that morning. The truth was devastating. Victoria had cut corners for years, risking lives for profit. The helicopter Marcus flew hadn't even been properly serviced for months. If he hadn't been an expert pilot, they both could have died. Ana looked at Marcus. "You understand what this means? She wanted you to fail, maybe even die." Marcus stared at the folder in front of him. His entire life had been destroyed by this woman's arrogance. He had dreamed of revenge for years, but now, with the truth in his hands, revenge suddenly felt hollow. The next morning, Victoria woke up to chaos. News vans outside her mansion, reporters shouting questions. "Victoria Reed, did you falsify maintenance records? Did you try to murder a decorated pilot?" On every major news channel, Marcus's face appeared next to hers. "Homeless war hero exposes billionaire CEO for corruption and attempted murder." Her phone rang nonstop. Lawyers, board members, journalists. Everything she had built began to crumble within hours. But instead of celebrating, Marcus watched the news quietly from a small cafe. He didn't smile. He just stared at the screen, remembering all the nights he had slept hungry, all the humiliation, all the rage. Ana sat beside him. "You did it, Marcus. Justice is served." Marcus took a deep breath. "No, Ana. Justice will only be served when I let go." That evening, Marcus requested a private meeting with Victoria. She arrived in a simple coat, looking 10 years older than before. Her voice trembled. "What do you want from me? Money? Public apology?" Marcus shook his head. "I don't want your money, Victoria. I want you to understand what you did. To me, to that child, to everyone you've crushed under your ego." Tears welled in her eyes. "I was wrong," she whispered. "I was angry that night. I thought my power could fix everything. But I destroyed you." For the first time in years, Marcus saw honesty in her face. He reached into his jacket and pulled out the recorder, the one that held her marriage challenge. Then he crushed it in his hand and threw it in the trash. Victoria looked shocked. "Why would you do that?" Marcus stood, his voice steady. "Because I don't need your humiliation to prove my worth. I got my life back the moment I stopped letting you define it." He turned to leave, but before walking away, he said softly, "I forgive you, Victoria, but I'll never forget. Use this second chance to become someone better." As Marcus walked out of the cafe, the sunset bathed the streets of Chicago in gold. Somewhere, a helicopter roared in the distance, a sound that no longer reminded him of loss, but of freedom. A year later, a new foundation appeared in Chicago, the Hill Foundation for Aviation Scholarships, funding education for underprivileged kids who dreamed of flying. At the launch ceremony, a little girl climbed onto the stage and hugged Marcus. Her name was Sophia Hill, his daughter. His wife had seen his redemption on the news and reached out again. And in the crowd, unnoticed, Victoria Reed stood silently. Tears in her eyes, she had donated half her company's shares to fund the foundation. A quiet act of redemption. Power can build empires or destroy lives, but real strength lies not in revenge. It lies in forgiveness, in choosing justice without hate, and in proving that even the broken can rise again.